The history of trucks: in the event that you got it, a major truck brought it, and on the off chance that you need it, there's a major truck on it, says Rob Varmeyer and Corin Raymond, two Canadian artists devoted to the expressions of the street. More genuine words have never been expressed, with semis and enormous apparatuses running products across the globe since the mid-1900s, representing more than 70% of all merchandise today in the US alone. Prior to at that point, it was uncommon to see a vehicle bigger than a standard conveyance truck out and about, while today, trucks can without much of a stretch house more than 1,000 feet per pound of force and highlight however many tech contraptions as some extravagance vehicles. In this post, we'll diagram an exhaustive history of the huge apparatus truck, and how these carriers of items and products turned into the overlooked yet truly great individuals of our cutting-edge society. Regular beginnings. Truck-like vehicles have consistently been utilized to ship merchandise and items, yet sometime in the past the actual streets wouldn't take into consideration cross-country transport. In the start of industrialized vehicle, rail lines were the rulers of North America, controlling all inland vehicle, keeping up the focal point of the mechanical progressions of the day. Items and products that expected to go somewhere else not open by rail were generally adjusted by pack creature-drawn trucks and carts. As society advanced and changed, an ever-increasing number of settlements and metropolitan focuses were created outside of the span of the incredible rail line industry, provoking another sort of vehicle to help administration country and far-removed stops. Enter the big rig. The primary at any point assigned big rig truck was created and underlying Cleveland, Ohio by Alexander Winston in 1898. Winston was a creator of autos and vehicles, and required a huge, incredible truck-type vehicle to move his innovations to different vehicle parts. The possibility of a super truck was additionally evolved in 1914 by August Charles Fruehauf, who expected to move a companion's boat. Fruehauf joined a semi-trailer to the backside of a Ford truck. Soon after, industry paid heed, especially the logging business, who has to a great extent utilized the rail line and common methods for transport, similar to waterways as a vessel to move plunder from one area to another. The appearance of the semi-trailer would shape and change the industrialized world for eternity. In 1839, American Charles Goodyear was authorized with the vulcanization cycle for tires, a treatment for elastic warmed with sulfur, changing tacky elastic into a material ideal for tires. Following the vulcanization interaction, the primary semis, enormous apparatuses, or transport trucks as they're known in Canada, included strong elastic wheels, making the sweeping organization of earth and unpaved streets in North America a slippery, awkward, and moderate possibility for drivers. It wasn't until 1846 that Scottish creator, Robert Thomson, recorded the primary patent for the pneumatic tire. The thought was subsequently evolved by Belfast's John Boyd Dunlop, and engineered rubbers were imagined in the 1920s assisting with smoothing and accelerate the ride of large apparatuses. The motor carrier ACT. The greatest blast in business shipping occurred in the 1920s in the USA. Shipping organizations started to arise because of expanded interest and consistently improving streets. Right now, Philly to New York was viewed as a long outing, and the Great Depression messed up the stuff of numerous producers and administrators. In 1935, U.S. Congress passed the Motor Carrier Act, approving states to control the shipping business through the Interstate Commerce Commission, as a component of the Interstate Commerce Act, put into impact in 1887. The act set up guidelines for cargo pulling and restricted the quantity of hours drivers were permitted to drive at one time. It additionally confined and directed the kinds of load trucks could convey. From the outset, drivers figured these limitations would obstruct progress of the whole shipping industry, as the Motor Carrier Act seemed to put shipping in similar classes as rail route transport. The act gave exceptional position to the ICC until liberation of the U.S. started to grab hold during the 1970s. The Motor Carrier Act was changed in 1980 and liberated the shipping business alongside the Railroad Revitalization and Regulatory Reform Act in 1976, endorsed into impact by President Jimmy Carter. The brands we know today. The large apparatus industry is notable for its snort and force, just as its enormous brands. Today, there are tons of semi-producers. However, the oldies flash our creative mind with dreams of great open street opportunity, capacity, and dependability. The principal semis were two-wheel controlled monsters. However, the start of the 20th century saw the large apparatus develop. Today, an average farm truck unit highlights a few axles, and can include upwards of 5, all uncommonly worked for towing and pulling business development hardware and gigantic burdens. Of the most widely recognized apparatuses, you can hope to see a forward motor, one controlling hub, and 2 drive axles. The reason for the double drive axles is to equitably disseminate the heaviness of the heat between the axles. 1900. Brooklyn, New York. A little producer called Mack starts to foster hardcore business shipping vehicles. They additionally start to produce their own motors, furnished with programmed starters and making the well-established hand wrench totally old. Mack created more than 2,600 trucks from 1929 to 1944, accumulating a standing as intense, reliable trucks. Others started to observe, and the race was on. In Tacoma, Washington in 1939, the logging business was in urgent need of a transportation friend in need, and they got it in Peterbilt, a truck organization that would be utilized broadly to take and move wood to plants in the Pacific Northwest. Peterbilts keep on being probably the most impressive, trustworthy, and conspicuous trucks out and about today. Other prominent brands like Volvo, Kenworth, International, Hyundai, Mitsubishi, and Western Star all started to offer their own interpretation of the semi-truck everywhere on the world. Today, in the US alone, there are over 3.7 million transporters shipping more than 700,000 tons of merchandise and items every year. Motors and fuel. All large apparatuses are inseparable from power. They've been known to have sufficient ability to pull houses directly out of the ground, and are regularly used to migrate unfathomably substantial and enormous bits of business development materials, gear, and crude materials with their great diesel motors. Mack has been designing and building their own motors since 1900, and today offers a wide choice of motors in their MP setup, with each offering more than 1,200 pounds per foot of force in 11L and 13L arrangements. Likewise, Cummins has become a staple diesel motor provider for the semi-world, with their X15 motors effectively making more than 2,000 pounds or force and 600 pull, all at 1,000 revolutions per minute. This part wouldn't be finished without referencing Caterpillar, a list diesel motor provider to development hardware, marine applications, guard, and obviously enormous apparatuses. The Caterpillar C12 Super Truck Hustling motor, named one of the best 10 diesel motors ever by Truck Trend magazine, creating a psyche desensitizing 3,400 pounds per foot of force and 1,400 strength, and is notable for its close to indestructibility. 21st century and beyond. Like most transportation-based businesses, the shipping business is continually reconsidering its methodology. In the present day and age, eco-friendliness and cost viability are two of the primary classes of re-evaluating for the shipping business. Investigating elective fuel sources, just as more modest, more productive motors that foster their force from various turbochargers is turning into the standard. Meanwhile, optimal design and ergonomics are turning into a subject of consistent conversation. The famous apparatuses of days of old may lose their etched shape. However, they can never lose their amazing picture. The universe of business shipping may not evoke a similar sentimentalism of the open street on a cruiser or in an extravagant European Games vehicle. However, there's an inebriating thing about the force, reasonableness, and sheer dependence we have on these huge haulers. Yearly in North America, more than 1 million ton of items and products cross global lines, bringing everything from food and building materials to help for cataclysmic events, protection frameworks, and even stages and stopgap amusement problem areas for the world's most pined for performers. The zing huge apparatuses rejuvenate in the cutting-edge world regularly goes unseen. There's a well-known axiom that says, in the event that it ain't broke, don't fix it, and the universe of huge apparatus trucks has only occasionally allowed us to down, offering day in and day out transportation of all our generally wanted, and required, supplies. Thanks for watching. Bye now.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Life is Often if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.